Hey, this is Rick Brandenburg for Turf Bugs and Rock and Roll. And a lot of you asked during the peak of the fall armyworm outbreak this year, you asked, why can't we predict these? Or can we predict them and we're just not doing it? Or why aren't we better at it? And that's a really good question because some pests we can predict. There are some challenges in trying to predict fall armyworm. Number one, for most of the states, we go to square one because they only overwinter in warm areas, South Texas, right along the Gulf Coast, excuse me, and in southern Florida. So everything has to start over again. So it's not like, well, we had a large population that overwintered, so look out in the spring or anything. That doesn't happen. And it requires a lot of matching up as far as the moths flying and their activity matching up with weather patterns that push them that direction. And we don't fully understand that because we only get one shot a year to test it, and every year is a little bit different, so it's hard to get, excuse me, 3 or 4 or 5 years that have consistent patterns. It may be spread out over 30 years before we see that pattern. So it's just tough. The other thing, we do have traps that have pheromones which attract the male moths, so it gives us an idea of when they first arrive, and that's something that we do in North Carolina. We have a site, you can see the link to it here, that shows where we're finding fall armyworm moths and where people are reporting the armyworms, and that helps. But it doesn't give us any real predictive, and the one thing that doesn't happen is the number of moths we catch in a trap, and even the presence of moths in a trap doesn't mean there's going to be an outbreak. And it doesn't mean that if we catch a lot of moths, it's going to be a terrible outbreak. In fact, there is zero correlation. Here you can see pictures of some fall armyworm. It's an old shot of some fall armyworm egg masses on a swing, on the frame around the swing that's in my backyard. And this is from 2024, and I have never seen armyworm egg deposits as intense as what this was on my swing. So I just took a wait and see approach, and this was all over the swing, the eggs this abundant. I never saw the first bit of fall armyworm damage. Now there can be a lot of reasons for that, but the key point here, just because you see a lot of egg masses does not mean you're going to see an outbreak. In my case, the turf grass surrounding the swing is common Bermuda, and that's not really an attractive host to it, and they just didn't care for it that much. But you can't simply take, oh, I found a lot of eggs, and this is something that happened this past year. I see a lot of eggs, I'm going to go out and spray with bifenthrin. Well, you don't even know that you're going to have an outbreak, and by the time the eggs hatch and the fall armyworms move into the Bermuda grass, the bifenthrin residual activity may be long gone. So just the presence of eggs doesn't tell you anything. So when you throw all those in there together, it's really hard for us to, several weeks out, to make any sort of prediction. Even when the moths are showing up, even when we're seeing egg masses, I can't say with any level of certainty, yes, you need to go ahead and spray. You need to do this, you need to do that, because there's so many factors that interact. The one thing we do know is that if you treat earlier in the year, say early summer, for white grubs, we typically see fewer fall armyworms in that turf. So that includes using products like Meridian or Merit or imidacloprid, Arena, Loft, Acelepryn, Tetrino. Any of those products applied early summer for fall armyworm or for white grubs will typically reduce fall armyworm outbreaks. Won't eliminate them, won't mean you don't have to spray, it just reduces the chance. So anyway, maybe one of these days we'll be really good at predicting them and give you a heads up 2-3 weeks out, but we can't do it right now. Hope that helps. Look forward to talking with you again soon.